Okay.
All right, hi everybody. This is Apba with Apba Baseball Classics. I wanted to come on live this morning. Joining with me is King Swan Gaming, Dave Nelson. And Dave, thanks for joining me. Dave is going to have some things to say. And basically, what we're going to talk about is the vote that's coming up here in just 30 minutes. At noon Eastern time, the NFL is going to vote on the neutral site proposal for the AFC when certain scenarios come up. Before I do that, great news about the Damar Hamlin situation. He was able to FaceTime with his team here about an hour ago. And we also learned that Denny Kellington, the man on the left in this picture, is the assistant trainer for the Buffalo Bills who performed CPR on Damar Hamlin and basically saved his life. So want to make sure that name is out there, and you know, Denny Kellington. And also keep praying for the Buffalo Bills. He's still in critical
condition. Hamlin. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. Now the league has declared that they're not going to ever finish the Seattle Buffalo game that was postponed. It will officially be a no contest game. Oh, Dave, are you on YouTube also right now?
We're getting a big time echo, Appa Brian.
Yeah, that might be because okay, let's
I don't know
see.
what's causing it.
It might be that screen share I was practicing. Oh, there we go. It's off. I think it's off. Yeah. And let's. Are you on YouTube right now?
I have YouTube on. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
Let me get off.
Yeah.
I have YouTube on. Yeah.
That took care of it.
There we go. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No
That's
problem.
my fault. Oh, jeez.
Now, we're talking about the vote that the NFL is going to do. First of all, their proposals are as follows. I'm going to put a screen share up and show what they're, or try to show what they're proposing. I don't know. Give me just a second. Here's what they're voting on. And they're voting on Buffalo and Kansas City. If they both win Week 18 and they both advance to the AFC title game, the game will be played at a neutral site. Secondly, if Buffalo and Kansas City both lose and Cincinnati also loses or ties, plus Buffalo and Kansas City advance to the AFC title game, the Buffalo-Kansas City title game will be played at a neutral site. Thirdly, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose, plus Cincinnati wins the AFC title game. It's either going to be Bills, Chiefs, or Bengals, then neutral site. So that almost guarantees that Kansas City is not going to have a home team for the AFC title game unless Buffalo loses and Kansas City wins this week. Then there's also the problem between Cincinnati and Baltimore that if if they end up the third and sixth seed, Cincinnati would be the third seed, Baltimore would be the fourth seed. They play each other this week. And even if Cincinnati wins over Baltimore, or excuse me, if Cincinnati loses to Baltimore does not have a chance to be AFC champion like they would have had if the canceled game or no contest game was played. So they're going to do a coin flip to determine who gets the home field advantage in that situation. That's what the league is voting on. We already know Cincinnati is opposed and they're campaigning to not do that.
Right.
Okay, did I get that? Yeah, we're back on. So here are some things that are a problem. that I see. When I first heard this last night, I was really upset. I'm a little less upset now. But first of all, I do think Kansas City does get a disadvantage. First of all, I have a problem with the NFC teams being teams that are also voting on this proposal. I think it should only be an AFC proposal because
I agree.
not included is the idea that they move a week. If they were going to move the Week 18 back a week to finish the Cincinnati Buffalo game, then I would see, if the NFC would have a big say in that and should be voting. But short of that, I don't know why they're voting. The other problem I have is the cities they're considering for the neutral sites. Atlanta and Indianapolis come up first, and Detroit. Detroit said they had conflicts, and they're probably still working on that end of it. But why would you even think about playing an AFC title game in an NFC city? I mean, there's plenty of places that it could be played, like Miami, a warm weather city in the AFC, Houston, a dome team in the AFC. Indianapolis would be a great solution. It'd probably be my number one choice because it's between Buffalo and Kansas City. And not far from Cincinnati either. So I think Indianapolis would be a great choice for all the fans involved. If you bring the mayors of the cities into it, then Detroit would have an argument because they need the money. It'd be good for them to have a title game. But again, I have a problem with an AFC title game happening in an NFC facility.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Definitely agree there. Yep.
So, some of the thoughts that I've had on that. Now, I see some of the objections of Cincinnati being that if Cincinnati is forced, of course, they don't mind being made the AFC North champions, kind of by default, which is what this does. But they're going to get the AFC championship without a home playoff game, very possibly. And then next year be saddled with a first place schedule, which is kind of a problem. The Chiefs, for example, had a first place schedule this year, and I think the first 7 of their 8 games are either playoff teams or playoff teams now. They had a very hard schedule first half of this year. Now, the Chiefs' schedule in the last half has been a lot easier, but those first place schedules are a big deal. They're way more difficult than the last place schedules. Like, for example, the Jacksonville had to play. So that's why I think Cincinnati is actually actively campaigning for no votes. I don't know if they're going to make this public. I left the TV on without sound over here because I kind of want to see if we get some idea of how that vote goes. And they might not be voting specifically at noon. They said on the channel that it's coming up close. It's a hard situation, first game canceled since 1935.
Right.
Do recall a game that was canceled. The Chiefs had a game one time in Chicago. I think back in the 90s, it was a preseason game where lightning storm canceled the game halfway through. But that was not a regular season game.
No.
So this is the first time in 88 years that the NFL has finished the season where they don't have an equal number of games played between the participants. One more graphic I should put up, and the Bengals, I think, are citing this reason. The policy manual for member clubs for 2022 says that if a game is canceled, a team standing in its division or in its conference or qualification as wild card or position in playoff seeding shall be determined on basis of the final record. When necessary, playoff tiebreakers shall be calculated according to per game average for all teams. And I think that's the basis that the Bengals are using to complain. They think that Roger Goodell and the NFL is overreaching their authority here. Now, in that policy manual, the unfair acts, the commissioner's given sole authority to investigate and take appropriate disciplinary or corrective measures.
Yes.
Um, so maybe that's what Goodell is going on. But I think Cincinnati would definitely prefer that the NFL just take the records as they are and set up the playoffs that way. And if the vote fails, I think that might be what happens. They're either going to have to amend these proposals or just
Right.
percentages.
And they will, and if say the vote failed, and they kept the records the way they are, as far as playoffs and all that, what would be the implications then? I mean, we would not be,
Kansas City would have a home field if it's assuming that Kansas
Yeah.
City beats the Raiders tomorrow.
right.
They would have home field throughout.
Yeah.
And it is unfair because Cincinnati loses their chance at home field because if they had beat Buffalo, they hold the tiebreaker over us. So if they had beaten Buffalo and say we lose to the Raiders, then Cincinnati would be the number one seed and they would have home field throughout. So the NFL is trying to address that problem.
Yeah.
And I have I said that a couple of weeks or a week ago or so, I think on Rob's channel, that it's just not, I agree that it's not right that they just give the number one seed to Kansas City under these circumstances.
No.
But I think there's a better solution. That's exactly what I'm complaining about. And I think the better solution, like I said, is that rather than have the neutral sites, flip a freaking coin to see who the home team's going to be. That way, Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Kansas City still have an equal chance to have a home game for the AFC Championship.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's logical. It's completely logical. The way they're doing it is going to cause all kinds of problems and infighting, and and then they want the NFC teams franchises are going to try to get their hands in there and get the playoff game in their stadium, and it's just going to be a mess.
Yeah, I don't think they should have. Yeah, what you're saying there is really true because this could pave the path for all the conference games going forward being played in neutral sites, which might be something that the NFL wants, but
yeah,
I wouldn't vote for that.
I wouldn't either. No. Fans love to see their team in their own stadium,
and it's a reward,
especially when you got to figure the fan. It should come down, in my opinion, should come down to the fan. The fan goes to these games. They watch all year long their team at their home field, right? Now all of a sudden they're taking that away from the fan and they want to put it to a neutral site. And fans will travel, yeah, that's fine, but they still want to be able to see their team in their home field advantage.
It's a reward.
It's a reward, sure,
and also for the city financially.
For the city financially, and plus the team when it comes to next year, they get the bonuses for next year that go along with that. So,
yeah, I would never be down with always playing the championship games in neutral sites. I can see where last year, I don't know if you watched our pick shows last year, but we came to a point in the season for a couple of weeks where my son Justin and I were wondering if the NFL was using their officials to influence games so that the Super Bowl would end up in Los Angeles, in SoFi Stadium. I mean, we were really wondering that. Ultimately, I kind of thought, no.
There was a lot of bad calls, I'll tell you.
That's what we're saying. I'm putting up graphics with the.
I've noticed some this year that just make my head shake, and I just get so upset. Some of the bad calls they've had this year too, with pass interference for one thing, and you can see an obvious pass interference penalty, but sometimes they don't call it, and sometimes they don't call it when they're supposed to call it, and sometimes they call it when they're not supposed to call it. So
I don't know why they don't make those reviewable. The pass interference penalty is reviewable.
I know they should be reviewable.
I would sit
that's
there
another thing.
another. I wouldn't mind sitting there another 45 seconds to see.
I wouldn't either.
Get that right.
No,
But yeah,
I'm there for the duration.
we were putting up graphics last year with the NFL's in orange and black stripes shirts, which is not one I created, but I found on the internet after the AFC Championship game. There were a lot of bad calls in that game.
Yes.
In fact, Cincinnati had a couple of games where they really got some big breaks with the calls, and the Rams as well. So that's why we were wondering about that. And it was very discouraging to my son, Justin, almost to the point where he kind of wanted to stop being on the show because he didn't think the NFL games were on the level.
They're not legit.
And that is something to watch
not
for.
At all.
That's something to watch for that we mentioned on the show Tuesday night. As far as the Green Bay Detroit game goes on Sunday,
Sunday evening,
yeah, Sunday
7:20.
evening. How many penalties are we going to see thrown against the Lions if the NFL really wants to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs?
Right. Exactly. You're right. And I don't want it to be given. I'm for the Packers right now because I was mad at the Commanders, and that's a whole nother story. The Commanders having their name ripped away, or the Redskins having their name ripped away, really bothered me, Yeah. So I kind of started watching the Packers because I live in Iowa. The Packers are an easy team to watch every week. They're on TV every week. And so I started getting used to watching them and started liking them, because of that fact. So now I don't want them to be handed anything. I think if they want to get something, they need to fight for it, and I don't want them to get any calls that are easy calls or bad calls to get, for them to win the game. I don't like that idea. So
that's why we watch these games.
Yeah, exactly.
We want a fair game each time.
Yes, I want it fair for the Lions too. I want it fair for everybody involved. So
there is a crew in Kansas City. It's I don't remember his first names, but his last name is Cheffers, Cheffers, that had the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, with the Chiefs Bengals last year. And they were the crew that called Chris Jones for roughing the passer when he tackled Matt Ryan in the Colts game and fell down on top of him. But Jones was trying to keep himself off of Ryan with one hand. He had the football. It was a strip sack. He had the football in the other hand.
Right.
And they still called him for roughing the passer, although he made an effort to not land on him. And that was a huge penalty call that really helped change the game. We lost that game. That was Jeffers' crew. We had him in the championship game, and I think there was one other game before that we had some controversial calls that his crew made against us. So every time we draw that crew, there's usually some posts on Facebook and complaints about in Kansas City.
Yeah.
His crew is well known in Kansas City. Now, the crew that we got in the Vegas game coming up tomorrow is I don't remember his name, but it's the rookie crew. There was a rookie crew.
So,
We've never had them before. But that was
see how they do. Yeah.
We don't want to see Jeffers in any NFL.
I'll be keeping an eye on these calls of the games I watch. I'll be keeping an eye on these calls.
Especially the Detroit.
See if you see anything funny. Yeah, that one's gonna be I'll have my eyes on that one pretty good. So I can't wait for it.
My son Justin watches a YouTube channel. I don't know the name of the channel, but there's a YouTube channel that goes over all the controversial calls from the previous week. He watches that every week.
Interesting. I'd like to watch that.
Yeah. Just Google
controversial calls or something.
Right. Yeah, on YouTube. Maybe that'll come up.
Right.
So we're talking about all this, and to be honest, Dave, I'm really worried about the Chiefs Vegas game coming up. We may not win that game. I picked Kansas City on our show.
I picked Kansas City too on ours. I did. Who first of all, they got rid of their quarterback. Who's going to be their backup quarterback? Who's going to be the quarterback for the Raiders? Or the Raiders.
Jarrett Stidham will be the quarterback for the Raiders.
And they have Devontae Adams.
He was spectacular.
Yeah.
I see.
So and then you have Devontae Adams, who's really hard to. He's very good at. What I like about Devontae Adams, he's able to break away from his coverage at a certain point where you don't even realize it, and he just catches the pass. See,
And
he's
he's
very good
also
at that.
he's very good on 50-50 balls too. He gets most of those
Yeah.
50-50 balls.
Yep.
We played
Oh, yeah.
the Raiders earlier at Arrowhead, and he got 2 touchdown passes against us in the first half.
Yeah.
I think he had over 100 yards. So we had a hard time covering him, but then, you got Darren Waller, and Mac Hollins is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Hollins
I
has not
know.
been on the same page with Carr most of the season. He was the last couple of weeks, but he's tough, and you can't go all on pass defense against Oakland or against the Vegas Raiders because they got Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
They're tough. You gotta have a little luck involved there, a little bit of perseverance and luck, because it's hard to cover every angle. It's hard to cover every angle against them.
usually hope for a
What
lot of
what
points.
what what time is that game on? Is that the early game on Sunday, or is it Saturday?
Saturday, it's 3:30.
Saturday,
Yeah,
3:30.
yeah,
Okay,
it'll be 3:30
I want to
Central
watch that
Time,
one. I
and
want to
then
watch
the
that one. Yeah.
Jacksonville, Tennessee game is the night game Saturday.
Hi, Shelly. Let me see you, honey.
So the
Want to
Kansas
say hi to
City,
Appa Brian? Say hi to Appa Brian. This is my wife, Michelle.
okay.
Can you see her, Appa? I don't know if you can see her.
No, I can't quite see her, but hi there, Michelle.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Now, how far from Des Moines, Iowa, do you live?
About 90 miles, I think.
That's not far.
Waterloo's about 90 miles from Des Moines. Yeah, I have a daughter who lives in Des Moines.
Okay,
Yeah,
we went to Des
Samantha.
Moines. We went to Des Moines a couple of summers ago and did the Boone train.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we rode that train, and we went to Winterset to see the John Wayne home.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Good
awesome.
choice. Yeah, I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's worth going there. They got a little museum there. It's not the same. The museum's not the same location as the house, but I think it's within a block or two. And where's that?
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll have to remember that. I want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up my alley.
Yeah.
I love the Duke.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Oh yeah.
I know my brother-in-law has watched all of his movies.
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of them. I tell you, my grandfather got me into all those westerns, and a lot of. I gotta say, you look at those movies. 1 out of 4 was John Wayne. John Wayne. You know? So over the years, we watched a lot of them on cable there back in the '80s. When my grandfather he died in '88, so I figure from '84 to '88 was all westerns.
Yeah.
A lot of wrestling and westerns.
He never did a movie with Clint Eastwood. I don't think he liked Clint Eastwood.
No, I don't think they didn't really care for each other. It would have been something though. It would have been interesting.
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm worried about the Chiefs, and we talked about the reasons why I think the Chiefs may struggle with the Raiders. They usually play us tight to begin with.
Yes.
Crosby is outstanding. He plays on the right tackle side, so Andrew Wiley will have his hands full trying to keep Crosby out. I was watching the Raider game a couple of weeks ago, and I guess the same thing applies with San Francisco and Nick Bosa, but it's hard to block Crosby. Like if you chip block him and use somebody else to help, that's usually obvious, and then that would immediately tell the defense that it's going to be a longer pass, like a medium or long pass, if you're chip blocking on Crosby. But if it looks like Crosby is going to be handled just by your right tackle, that would kind of tell them that's going to be a short pass. So you have a huge tell in those situations. It looked like Steve Spagnuolo of the Chiefs did a press conference yesterday, and he does look worried. He's our defensive coordinator. defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's looking at a lot of film this week. I could tell you. Yeah, he's a good coordinator. I think he's gonna do okay though. He'll have an extra fan watching from Iowa, that's for sure. So we'll go for the Chiefs and see how they do.
Now, we were wondering about the mental state of the Bengals and the Bills. With this good news that we've got on DeMar Hamlin this morning, I think that will clear that up. I think the Bills will be able to go out and play their normal game on Sunday.
I think they will be able to too.
And Cincinnati as well. And even the Chiefs were, I'm sure all the NFL teams were affected by this.
Certainly.
If you
The whole
watch
country, the whole country, the whole NFL nation, was way upset about this. And
Have you had a chance to watch the New Heights show by Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce? They have a YouTube podcast each Wednesday.
No, I have not.
Yeah, check that out. It's really good. Normally they're on for an hour and a half, and they'll do a lot of questions and comments about life in the NFL. This past Wednesday,
wonderful.
They just did a 20-minute show specifically on the Cincinnati Buffalo game and everything that was in the forefront of everyone's mind. So I was looking at, Travis Kelce during that show, and man, he was not ready to play football. You could tell they were both affected.
That night I was like, once they sent the players into the locker rooms, I was like, they're calling this game. This game's not going to happen, and it's for the best. It's for the best. I mean, they're just not in a state of mind to play that kind of sport. So at all, a sport of any kind. So they're just, they want to go rest and pray for their comrade and just get back together and get their head straight. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach, said that when he went across the field to talk to Sean McDermott, the first thing that Sean McDermott said to him was, "I've got to be I can't continue to coach this game. I got to be in the room with DeMar Hamlin." And that Zach Taylor said he knew right then they were not going to finish this game.
No, of course not. No. It's for the best, but they're ready. They're ready. They'll be ready now for when they're more prepared now. They'll be ready to play. So it'll be interesting to see that. And very, very nice. But I'm so happy that Hamlin is doing much better. And the last thing I read about him, when he was breathing 50% of his own power, but that must be better by now.
Yeah, actually,
they took the hands. Yeah, they took the tube out now. So great. So he's on his own. He's at his own, breathing under his own power. In other words, and everything. Yeah. Okay. Good. Great.
And he was even able to FaceTime. The Bills had a team meeting, and he FaceTimed.
Good.
With his teammates.
Good.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. So worried about him. That was just a really terrible. It was just awful.
Yeah.
Everybody's heart just dropped when that happened.
You saw the story about in yesterday's baseball game on my channel about Trice at Iowa State.
Trice, yep. Jack Trice.
Yes.
Yeah, Jack Trice, and he had a 15-year-old wife, and I was telling my wife about that, and she thought that was interesting. I had not heard of him, but that's why I watch your channel, because I get all these extra stories, and I learn so much from it, because a lot of times I don't hear these things. I had no idea about Jack Trice.
Yeah,
I didn't even know he existed till yesterday.
The Chiefs have actually had 2 football players die as a result of football injuries.
Is that right?
Both in the 60s.
Really?
One was in, I think, 1963. His name was Stone Johnson. He was an Olympic runner in the 1960 Olympics.
Wow.
And the Chiefs running back, Abner Haynes, suggested to the coaching staff to try to get that guy. And so they did sign him. I don't think he was normally a football player, but they signed him because of his speed. And
Right.
he played
Now, was he a
in
wide receiver or running back?
he was going to be a running back, and
Gonna be a running back.
he was going to be a running back, and he took a hit on a kickoff wedge play in the last preseason game. And
Oh,
I
no.
think he died the next day.
Oh,
Tom
that's
Johnson.
terrible.
And then we had another player, and I believe this was in maybe 1969 or 68. Mackley Hill, he was a running back for the Chiefs. He had actually a routine knee injury and died in knee surgery. The anesthetic was applied improperly or something, and he passed away because of the anesthetic the next day.
Oh, that's terrible.
So every year the Kansas City Chiefs have a Mackley Hill Award that goes to, I think, the best rookie on the Chiefs each season.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah.
But those did not happen in the heat of the moment. I mean, like in the middle of the football game, like happened.
No, they didn't. No. But that's interesting. Yeah.
Sunday night. In the Lions, they had, I think, in 71, a player die of a heart attack during a game.
Wow.
And I forget his name.
Yeah, no idea.
But I think I was watching that game when that happened. And I don't recall his name, but I'm not sure if he died on the field or died afterwards, but I do recall the Lions losing a player.
It's too bad. Yeah.
Still, football is not like boxing where they've had 200 fatalities.
I know.
History of boxing.
I like the fights too. When you like boxing, you like to watch boxing.
Yeah, I kind of like watch boxing.
Yeah, I like to watch it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while, but I do enjoy it. The one thing I don't care for is this UFC fighting. Is that what it is? They're trying to hype it up like wrestling now. It's not the same as it used to be.
MMA.
You know? Yeah, MMA. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I was working at JM, we had a female supervisor that was an MMA fighter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, nobody gave her any trouble.
I can imagine. Yeah, I knew one that I worked for at Tyson when I worked for Tyson, and he was one tough kid. His name was Nolan. Yeah. He was in the MMA. Yeah. Pretty interesting person.
I think we pretty much covered about this
I think so.
situation that's going on in the NFL. They're going to take a vote probably any minute now.
I know. I'd like to see the outcome of that. It's coming on. We're at Central Time, so if they're taking the vote Eastern Time, it's noon Eastern Time. So.
Noon Eastern Time, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've had their meeting prior to noon or they're just starting meeting now, but you might keep one eye on the NFL channel, and I'm sure they'll have it up when the vote is done. Thanks, Dave, for joining me.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, and
I'm gonna put together
we'll hope for the best here.
Yeah, I'm gonna put together the baseball game, and I'll probably go up here in about 25 or 30 minutes or so.
Hey, no problem. I'll be watching.
I just got my 500.
Hope the babe hits a home run.
Pardon?
I says I hope the babe hits a home run. Sorry to say.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say.
He had 3 in the World Series. Hasn't won yet in the replay yet, but they've kind of been pitching around in the replay.
I can imagine. Yeah, they were. that game yesterday was it was a pitching duel, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, so, thank you, Brian. Have me on, and
thank you for joining. One thing to celebrate. Just found out I got my 500 subscriber here a couple days ago, so I got 500 subscribers.
Oh, right. That's wonderful. Good for you.
So, happy about that.
I have 37. 30. I got a ways to go.
Well,
I got to put some stuff on my channel.
And if you're watching, jump in on King Twan Gaming. That's the name of his channel, King Twan Gaming.
King Twan Gaming. And people that want to watch, I'll be putting more stuff on here soon. I'm thinking of new projects. I just haven't got one wrapped around my head yet. So, but I will be putting more stuff on. Thank you very much, Brian. I'm going to let you go.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.